Welcome to Radical Underdogs, my name is Will, and if you haven't watched this channel, welcome. We are in the BRSCC Mazda MX-5 Clubman Championship, although this weekend there is a grid of 57 cars, potentially even more than that, for reasons I will explain later after the race has got started. Alongside us is car 59, Kev Bird. We've qualified to the middle of the pack. He's a bit impatient to get this race going. I've qualified middle of the pack, but in Clubman I'm around 6th position, so one of the best qualifying I've ever had, although it doesn't really feel like it when you've got this many cars on circuit and cars from the MX-5 Championship as well. The lights are on and we are raring to go. The lights are out and away we go. It is a good start, and alongside us Kev has also made a good start. Not all cars making a good start. I'll catch up on some of these numbers later because again we're racing at different championships and I'm not recognise all these cars. Number 9, that's Jamie Turner, he's in my championship. He is down the inside, he had an even better start, and Kev actually, who qualified one position behind us and was alongside us on the grid, is ahead of us as we go down into the Mazda complex. This is one of my favourite corners in club motors, well, any motorsport. It is an extremely fast set of corners, and it's one of the ones you only get to do on the Grand Prix circuit. The national and international circuit cut this corner in half, quite sadly. We've got a great exit from that corner, and we now are a big slipstream down the hangar straight as we go down into Stowe. Behind us, what's going on? Well, there are a lot of cars behind us. The grid was absolutely packed, and even those at the back couldn't even see the red lights, and they were queuing all the way back round Woodcote at the start of the race and missed the apex terribly there on the first lap. It doesn't seem to have been punished, but there's 3 cars side by side. That's Jake Pace, Jamie Turner, Kev Bird. They're all in my championship. That's 3 positions in my championship. Kev's left the door open down on the inside. There are cars behind. Actually messed that up, and there is you can see there's 3 or 4 cars wide as we go down the exit. Taken to the escape area on the exit. Got 3 cars through here on the exit and going ahead slowly on the straight. Must have had a bad exit or something like that, or car issues or something. That's Neil Chisnell in car number 8. We swept past, but that meant we lost 2 or 3 positions. Down on the outside, being pushed out wide, that's car number 68, who I will catch up with later on. But meanwhile, down on the outside, we're past Bo Parry and past Jake Pace as well. And we're now side by side with another car, I think from the championship. And you can see there's contact up ahead. Kev Bird has made contact, well, been made contact with, I should say, bouncing off the inside sausage curb. I think that was car number 64. And they came together, and I will catch up on some of these numbers later. Meanwhile, we've got Bo Parry in car 114. He had a much better exit because, of course, he was not quite so impacted by the crash from Kev Bird behind us. But you can see we have not made a great corner there, and we've got Jake Pace. Because cars are on the gravel, that's 2 positions again. There's more contact behind us, 1, 2, maybe even 3 bits of contact. I think Kev might have an issue. Kev does end up retiring from this race, and I don't know whether it was as a result of that contact that they had just a moment ago. Down the start finish straight for the first lap. It's only 1 lap, believe it or not. Down into the first corner, we got again another fast corner in the MX-5. Just a dab of the brakes as you get the car rotated as you come in, and down into the Mazda complex. You're flat. Even through the first bit here, you're still flat. Well, some people tried to do flat all the way around in testing. Didn't quite work out too well for you, Jordan, did it? But never mind. It is not actually flat for me. I was actually going down to 3rd for that last bit of the corner. But we are now back onto the hangar straight on this newly rebuilt engine that was rebuilt over the winter. It is still performing okay. You can see I'm looking down, a bit puzzled down at the oil pressure gauge, because that is fluctuating a little bit at high revs in 3rd and 4th gears. Not ideal. I'm hoping it's an electrical issue rather than a real oil pressure issue, because this engine is not going to be long for this world if that is a real oil pressure issue. Missing the apex terribly again at Stowe. I don't seem to have been punished for it again. Their cars up ahead are fighting. they were getting away from me a little bit, but I'm going to catch them up if they're fighting like this, because that is a flat out corner. If they've had to lift, then it will be catching down the Hamilton straight. Behind us, if you look behind us, actually we're okay at the moment, but yeah, basically flat through here. A little bit of a lift sometimes, depending on the track conditions, if you're fighting someone. Got Pete Smith behind us, I think, in that purple car, fighting with Jake Pace. Pete Smith not in my championship. You can see that denoted by the yellow band at the top of the windscreen, and making up loads of ground through this section of corners. I have been absolutely terrible through those corners, losing positions almost every lap, and actually not getting a great exit either, because you can kind of see trying to break the toe a little bit from behind us from Pete Smith. Pete Smith has definitely got the toe. He's going to be on the inside down into Brooklands, and totally missing the apex, which gives Jake a nice run round Luffield, round the outside. It's going to be tricky to find his way out there, and he's taken way too much speed. He's slip sliding all the way around the outside, but he does manage to get power down early, which means that he is now going to be challenging us down the start-finish straight. This is where famously Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen came together in the British Grand Prix. This time it's Jake Pace and Will Bream, not quite as famous, but there we go. And Jake is also through on the inside without too much issue, but he's going to run wide on the exit, and we're going to be potentially side by side as we go back down to Maggotts Beckett's. Jake is the faster driver, has been through qualifying and definitely through last year, so actually it might be a good thing to follow Jake round the circuit, because we might be able to catch up with the group in front. Mazda MX-5 is a lot about momentum. If you start fighting with a driver and start defending every single corner, you will end up in a position where you're going to get caught by the cars behind, and you're not going to be able to catch the group in front. So it is a bit of a game of strategy, especially in a 20-minute race. Yes, it's absolutely worth fighting for position on the first lap of the race, and it's worth fighting for position if you know that you've made a mistake in the car behind, for example, and his car's off on the gravel, two in the gravel down at Stowe. It's going to be difficult to get those cars out. Where was I? So yes, racing in the MX-5s, and I can see cars up ahead coming together as well. I will get to the end of this point I'm trying to make. Basically, it's not worth defending every single corner at every single opportunity, because sometimes you will end up with a slower race pace overall, and it means that you actually don't end up in the position that you would like to be in. So at this point in the race, we're kind of a few laps in. Jake Pace, I think, was recovering from a few issues earlier in the race. You saw him on lap 1 dropping a few places behind us, so it kind of made sense not to fight that too hard, because actually staying with Jake, I know that I will, if I can, stay with this group ahead, and that will be definitely good for me in my race pace. If you haven't watched this channel before, I'm racing in the MX-5 Clubman series. This race has both the Clubman and the Championship. They are both the same cars. It's just that the Championship involves a bit more commitment. There are three 20-minute races over 2 days. The Clubman has two 15-minute races over 1 day. And for whatever reason, I'm not going to get into it. You can have a look at my rant video if you're really interested in that. But for whatever reason, both championships are racing here together. I think the race organisers get away with it. Well, the race people racing the cars actually get away with it. And I don't think there was too much damage. I mean, people can in the comments can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there's too much damage or contact in this race, which is very lucky in a 57 car grid. Many of the drivers, it's their first ever race on a car circuit. A lot of people have been karting, of course, before, but the first ever motor racing with full-size cars, I should call them. That can lead to a bit of issues, obviously, with a car grid this size, especially with the Mazdas on a sprint race and a standing start. They're a bit of a recipe for disaster, really. There are definitely grid sizes like this in endurance racing, but often they have rolling starts to prevent the kind of chaos you saw on lap 1, which was managed to be avoided by most people. So I think that's more luck than judgment, and I don't think it's a good idea to necessarily have 57 car grids in the future. That's just my view. I would probably prefer not to, because it's just a matter of time before you have your car written off, and although that's exciting for you, the audience, not so exciting for me, the driver, the team owner, the race mechanic. the race strategist, everything. You've got double waves yellows. The marshal's doing an excellent job here at Silverstone. You can see braking a little bit earlier than you would do normally, just to make sure absolutely you've got this under control. Which means actually, probably maybe for the first time this race, I actually hit the apex down at Stowe, which is great. Actually, up ahead, you've got a car going slowly. I don't know what's going on here because he was slow out Stowe, but he's picked up the pace again. So there must be some sort of car issue, picking up maybe electrical issue. Not sure what it is, but that doesn't really matter to me. I'm going to try and get past. You can see denoted by the yellow number plate, not actually in my championship, but yeah, race is a race, and you want to get past anyway. So this is number 29, Adam Craig, up ahead, and I think he is having some car issues because on some corners, maybe the left or the right hand corners, he's having, I think maybe when you're turning right or whatever it is, that maybe he'll, if you see this video, Adam, let us know in the comments what the issue with the car is, because it's a bit intermittent. I've had similar issue in the past with my Mazda at race circuits, at testing rather than during races, and it's when I've been running over rumble strips that the car's been cutting out, and that I traced that down to the main fuse that was just not quite as seated as you would like it to be, and that's why if you look under the bonnet of my car, you can see on the garage videos that I do, you'll see there's a cable tie strapping in that main fuse, just because I've had issues with that in the past. The other issue I've had is the wiring to the intake, the manifold area, the throttle body. That can cause you to cut out sometimes. So those are the issues I've had running this Mazda quite hard over the rumble strips or cornering hard. See, putting the hand down, not waving at my friends there, that is because there is a yellow flag down at Cops, so maybe a car off in the gravel or something like that. So again, braking a little bit early, making absolutely sure I've got this massively under control. You can see actually Marshall's on the circuit on the inside there, so nicely off the racing line. There's a car that's retired. The Marshals, as I say, doing an excellent job here at Silverstone. I'm massively surprised that there's not a red flag or a safety car yet, as I say, in this 57 car race. I haven't in this video put down my position and the lap times and things like that, and this is as you can see, a new set of footage with the Insta360, so I am taking my time editing this new footage. If you've got comments about that, or if you've got this camera yourself and you kind of think, well, you could be doing this or that better, then again, please do let me know. And if you've liked this so far, please do take the time to like and subscribe. Always massively helpful for the channel, things like that, because it just adds to the viewership, and we're nearly at 500 subscribers now, and it'd be great if we could get over that, to be honest. I didn't really think I would get very many when I started this channel, but it's grown very slowly over the years, and it's great to have you guys along for the ride. Now, where are we in this race? We're getting on for the midpoint of this race, and up ahead you can see the cars are fighting, which means we are catching them nicely as we go over the Hamilton Straight. This is where the Formula 1 cars start their races, and actually the national paddock is actually much better suited to club racing than the international paddock. We sometimes do race out of the international circuit, and you use the garages used by the F1 teams, which is all very prestigious and all that, but it is very tightly packed in for the number of cars we've got in the Mazda MX-5 Championships. You've only got 24 cars, whatever, less than that now in Formula 1, isn't it? Cars coming together, there's 3 side by side as we go through the loop and Aintree, and we've got number car 52, that's Paul Simard, who is side by side with us. There's cars side by side all over the place, and lose out there, but Bo Parry seems to have lost out quite a lot there. He's in that grey car ahead in my championship, in the Clubman Championship. We're running in about 6th place, and I think I was going to try and tell you the story from earlier, that actually if you've been watching this channel for a while, that actually I've not been able to get top 10s very frequently, and last year was the first time I managed that. So actually running in around 6th, 7th position is great. Another thing about this Insta360, which I didn't realise when I bought it actually, was you see I had to switch back to the old camera there because the Insta360 isn't a smooth transition between files. I didn't know that when I bought it, and it's not very well publicised. The people who do camera reviews maybe just didn't look at the right ones. But there you are, that's my Insta360 camera review. You can kind of see I think the footage is quite good, but do let me know, as I say, if you've got any comments about that. To cars up ahead are fighting, and like I've said earlier, Mazda MX-5 racing is all about momentum, and they are absolutely momentum. You've got side by side through the flat-out entry into Maggots and Beckett. That's a very brave move there, and we are going through the exit because we've been able to carry that speed. We are going to be able to carry speed all the way down the Hangar Straight, which means potentially we get a run at Adam Craig here. But no, actually, I think Adam's issues are causing some of this Constantina effects up ahead, because I think he's getting on the power and maybe not finding any power there. And you can see, I think, yeah, it's another, obviously, car's still in it. Well, they clear up all the cars, which is a really good work by the Silverstone marshals, because that could easily have been a safety car. You can see Adam Craig struggling on the power. There's definitely an issue with this car. So down on the outside, into Club. I never get these names of these corners right. Down on the outside into Club. That has really made us slow. And again, Adam's struggling to get the power down. We're side by side. Very close. As we go down the Hamilton Straight once again. It'd be great if we just get past Adam here, but he is probably a bit of a faster driver. And going past again at the same point on the race circuit, that's car number 8, Neil Chisnall. Again, Neil's often a faster driver, so I'd expect him to be further up. And we passed him at the same point last time. There's a few cars that seem to be having fueling issues, or they're having electrical issues. I guess it's the second race of the season, and people... it's the first race of the season, so maybe people are, it's a shakedown element. Maybe something's changed over the winter, and although most people tested yesterday, so I don't really understand all these issues people are having with power or electrical issues or whatever it is. It'd be interesting to know if people come on later on and say what that is. And actually Neil making his way back past, and despite running probably the best I've ever run in a Clubman race, it doesn't really feel like it, does it? Because when you're running in 6th position, you're often close to or very much in the leading pack, and then you can see the cars in front, and it just feels like you're right at the front of the race. Whereas, although I'm probably doing my best race ever, maybe not counting Brands Hatch last year, the last race of the season, but definitely carrying on the form from the last couple of races last year, despite the fact I'm doing some of my best racing ever, I'm not really that close to the front. I'm it's around 18th, 19th position in this 57 car grid. So yeah, good race, but it just doesn't feel as good as being close to the front of, say, a Clubman race or something like that. Next time out, of course, at Brands Hatch, there are 2 weekends in a row where you can see Mazda racing. The first weekend is where you've got the 750 MC5 Club Championship, which is a very similar championship to this. And then the second weekend you've got the BRSCC, where you've got the Mazda MX-5 Championship and you've got the Clubman Championship. Hopefully we're going to be racing separately, because although maybe quite a good spectacle, I think that's the right set of words, despite the fact it being quite a good spectating spectacle, it's not such a good thing for the people who are racing in it. I just suspect we got lucky this time out with no damage, but it's entirely possible that there could be quite a lot of damage, if especially got this many cars on one grid. And Adam Craig still having issues, and it is absolutely screwing up my line into the last set. Well, it's the last set of corners for the Formula 1 circuits. We're halfway around the circuit, so into Vale Club and across the Hamilton Straight. It's absolutely screwing up my line into that. He's not in my championship either, so it's not helping my race, although he is slightly faster, so it's quite good to follow him through these corners. But you can see, struggling to get in the back. There's definitely some issue with Adam's car here, and we're going to go down on the inside. Need to maybe try and clear him back. In no man's land. We had it too early on the brakes, and we weren't fully committed to that move. Down into this last set of corners before the Wellington Straight, and I was going down into second gear, sometimes staying in third. The issue with second to third in Mazda MX-5 is if you've got a track car and you go track days or whatever it is, you'll probably almost certainly have done this, especially in this gearbox. Lovely gearbox normally, but second to third is so common to do second to fifth. So sometimes it's maybe worth sacrificing in a race scenario just that 0.05 or whatever it is, just to stay in third if it's borderline between dropping down to second and third, just because you risk going into fifth sometimes. You've got cars off on the gravel, and that is absolutely peppering the car like a machine gun, and that is, if this was a road car, a dead windscreen. But of course this is a race car, so the crack down the centre of it is absolutely fine. We can carry on racing with this into future rounds, not so much of an issue. But if you go on a track day, for example, that's why if you see a car go off into the gravel, try not to follow another car through there. You'll get absolutely peppered with bits of stone, and it'll just destroy your paintwork and all the rest of it. You look at any race car up front, and they do pretty much all of them, even some of the really expensive ones, look a bit tatty, and that is because you're going around circuits and people throw out gravel, and there's lots of there's a lot of contact in racing, even if it is a non-contact sport. Cars do come together. You can see Bo Parry's been off the circuit. Don't know whether that was a result of contact or not, but we're passed down the outside. I think this might be the last lap of the race, although the last lap board, I didn't see the last lap board. If you scroll back and have a look at that as we cross the finish line, I don't think there was a last lap board, to be honest. So I don't know this is the last lap, and like I said earlier, it is worth defending on that last lap, because that is the time when obviously you make up the positions. Adam Craig in slow out of Stowe. Don't know what's happening with him, and I've just bit of no man's land, braking in the middle of the circuit as we go around the corners that take us into the Hamilton Straight, and that is going to give Bo a great slipstream. He's got a much better exit because he took a much better line through those corners. You can see Adam was slow out. He's choosing to defend. There's going to be three of us side by side. This is a very fast corner, and the car, I've just gone off just using the runoff. That can, if we had three side, you probably can't get three Mazdas side by side flat out through there. Well, I'm pretty sure you can't, and that would be a very big accident. It's a very high speed corner. You can see Adam Stowe, it's almost running into the back of him. That is the problem. If you've got issues with your car and you're struggling to get the power down, you can sometimes have the car behind you running into the back of you because they think that they're just going to run their race and expect you to have the power down, and if you don't have the power down, you're going to get a big smack into the rear of your vehicle, and you might like that at home, but probably not in your race car. Now, into the vast set of corners of the race, going through Brooklands and Luffield, you can see up ahead, Adam Craig's been having that issue all race, and it looks like he's struggling to get the power down, which means that we're going to have a chance here, right round the outside. There is space, there's a gap, just go for it, foot down, and we've crossed the, overtaken Adam Craig, and it is going to be a cross the line, and that is the checkered flag. Definitely checkered flag out, there you go. That is the start finish line. There we have crossed the line. I think that is 6th position in club. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th position in club, which is, and you can see switching on the radiator switch. That's 6th, one of my best results ever, but unfortunately for this race down in the 17th position. But yeah, 6th race in Clubman, one of my best results ever. See you next time.